Hi there and welcome back. In today's video, we are discussing the second competency under the leadership cluster, which is ethical practice. The sub-competency we are discussing within ethical practice is professional integrity. The 6 topics we will cover in this video are adverse action and personal bias,
Abercrombie rooted themselves in discrimination at every single level.
privacy and duty to report unethical behavior, discretion when communicating sensitive information, staying current with laws and workplace best practices, impartial investigations, and as always, these topics are directly correlated to the proficiency indicators as listed on page 19 of the SHRM BaSK. Let's begin. The SHRM BaSK defines professional integrity as demonstrates high levels of integrity in professional relationships and behaviors. To break down this definition, we need to understand the word integrity, which can be described as the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles. So by this we can understand that the meaning of professional integrity is being honest in the workplace with our relationships and the way we behave, and also managing our own moral compass. The first topic we will discuss is adverse action and personal bias. An adverse action occurs when an employee feels that they are at a disadvantage in their workplace as a result of the way they are treated by their manager. An employee may be terminated, demoted, or another employment decision may be taken that adversely affects an individual because of their race, color, religion, sex, age, disability, or even genetic information. We must be careful and ensure that our biases, whether conscious or unconscious, do not result in adverse actions to employees. There are 2 types of discrimination that can occur in this case, which are disparate treatment and adverse impact. Let's talk about disparate treatment first. Disparate treatment occurs when an employer treats protected classes differently than other employees. Examples of disparate treatment include holding genders to different standards, sexual harassment, blatantly rejecting a member of a protected class due to stereotypes. A famous disparate treatment case was McDonnell Douglas Corporation versus Green. Green, who was a black employee, was laid off during a regular redundancy exercise. He then decided to protest at the company gates. The company decided to chain and lock the company doors and blocked an entrance to the company property. His activities did not please the company at all. When the company began hiring again, they advertised and Green reapplied. Unfortunately, he was denied and the company continued looking for candidates. Green claimed the rejection was due to his race and his involvement in civil rights activities. This was the precedent-setting case that established criteria for disparate treatment and ruled that a prima facie case can be registered if an employee belongs to a protected class, applied for a job when the employer sought applicants, was qualified and yet rejected, but the employer kept looking. In disparate treatment cases, an individual must prove they are a member of a protected class. They applied for a job for which they were qualified and for which the employer was seeking applicants. They were not hired even though they were qualified. After they did not get the job, the position remained open and the employer continued to receive applications. Adverse impact, on the other hand, refers to a form of discrimination where an employer's policy seems neutral but in fact has an adverse impact on a certain group or a certain characteristic such as race, sex, or disability. This was identified by the Supreme Court in 1971 in the case of Griggs versus Duke Power Company, where it was proven that the requirement of a high school diploma for higher paid positions was unfairly affecting African American employees in lower paid labor positions who had a history of receiving inferior education. As another example, if an employer requires a potential employee for a position to be at least 5'10" in height, it may exclude an entire group, such as women, because statistically, men are taller. This requirement is based solely on biological reasons rather than if the candidate can adequately perform the required role. An employer discriminating based on certain physical elements, however, can be justified if it is in correlation with job requirements. For example, it is necessary for the fire department to discriminate based on height, facial hair, or grooming to ensure the safety of its employees. Currently, interestingly, there is a documentary on Netflix which is titled White Hot and is about how the fashion brand Abercrombie & Fitch only hired good-looking people to work in their retail stores as salespersons. Yes, I'm serious. This was an actual criteria to get the job.
Abercrombie & Fitch said, we go after the cool kids.
As a manager, you have to recruit good-looking people.
Abercrombie rooted themselves in discrimination at every single level.
They were also firing people on the basis of their looks. Abercrombie knew that they had a lot to hide.
Well, I haven't seen the show yet, but if you have, then let me know in the comments if this is an example of adverse impact in the workplace. Moving along, our second topic, which is privacy and duty to report unethical behavior. To establish an effective and active reporting system, you must establish a secure reporting environment that protects the privacy of employees who report occurrences of unethical behavior. Ideally, this would be something the organization encourages. Companies should have a strong culture of reporting and transparency. It's important that employees feel safe from repercussions when admitting to unethical behavior or even reporting it. The Whistleblower Protection Act, passed in 1989, is one law that regulates the protection of employees who report a violation of any law, rule, regulation, or other ethical standard. HR professionals should be aware of this law and other regulations that affect the duty to report unethical behavior. Our third topic is discretion when communicating sensitive information. The Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, also known as HIPAA, was passed in 1996 to improve continuity of healthcare coverage. Its goal is to provide individuals with a type of insurance that will be there for them irrespective of changes in their employment. The important aspect of this act is that you cannot be denied insurance coverage on the basis of pre-existing medical conditions as well as illnesses for which you received medical advice or treatment in the past 6 months. As for this act, only if the employee needs treatment, payment, or healthcare operations, then they are liable to disclose protected health information. As an organization, if you want to share personal medical information with a third party, you will need the patient's written consent. The fourth topic is stay current with laws and workplace best practices. One of the major roles of the HR team is to maintain awareness of all statutory and regulatory requirements that affect organizational HR practices and to ensure that the organization meets all of their goals. Not being aware of these laws can lead to huge lawsuits for the organization. As HR professionals, we should be aware of emerging trends in the HR field and be up to date with any policy changes or about the introduction of new employment laws. The fifth topic is impartial investigations. In the event of reports of unethical behavior or violations of standards, HR professionals should investigate these issues promptly and fairly. HR professionals should have in-depth knowledge of company policies and procedures to use when investigating potential issues. You should also establish a list of actions to take, for example, alerting company leaders or law enforcement, depending on the severity and type of offense committed. Investigations should fulfill any legal requirements, workers' compensation, proceeding needs, and applicable internal policies and procedures. So to summarize, ensuring your company has enforceable ethical standards is an important area for HR by establishing value statement, code of conduct, and conducting audits for the HR team. A code of conduct also guides employees' behavior, but with greater detail. The code of conduct is a list of all the rules about how employees are expected to act inside and outside of the company, such as what is appropriate or inappropriate behavior. HR professionals have to make sure that all employees are following company policies by conducting regular audits. HR managers can also create and distribute an employee handbook to employees that contain important job information. In the handbook, you'll want to make sure you mention your company's code of conduct and describe employee expectations. Well, with that, we come to the end of this video, and if these videos are adding value to your test prep needs, then subscribe, like, comment, and share. I post videos every week. I will see you in the next video.